right, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. And if this is the very first time that you've seen my channel, yay, you found me. I'm so glad you discovered my channel. My name is Dr. Trina Boice, or Movie Review Mom, and I review movies and do trailer reactions. And my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality as well as content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend your time and money watching a specific movie. I also write a bunch of books, and you can find them all on Amazon. Just search for my name, Dr. Trina Boice, or actually I think they're listed as Trina Boice. You could just do a search there and find all of those. And many times I have free books available through Kindle on special promotions. Actually, if you're watching this right now when it's live in May 2021, I have a Mother's Day freebie that I'm offering on Amazon. It's for a book all about genealogy. So just look for Ancestry and my name, Trina Boice, and you'll see that offered for free on Amazon Kindle. So happy Mother's Day. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about this movie. The movie I'm reviewing today is called The Year Earth Changed. It is currently available only on Apple TV to celebrate Earth Day after a very tumultuous year of pandemic. The movie is rated TV PG, which means it's family friendly, and it is, and it's 48 minutes long. I'll give you my movie review mom grade at the end of my review. But first, I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell. I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, and even some recommendations for similar movies that I think you might also like. All right, let's dive in and get started. So in a nutshell, I know we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to COVID-19 and the worldwide pandemic, but this lovely wildlife documentary reminds us of the many miracles that occurred in nature during this past year. Narrated by the award-winning broadcaster Sir David Attenborough, this beautiful film features how nature has flourished around us while humans have been in lockdown. This just might be a film that you're going to want to watch with your kids and family to remember what an astonishing year we've had and experienced, and one that will definitely go down in history. It's a reminder of the amazing, wondrous world in which we live. All right, so let me point out the things that I really liked about the movie. First of all, the movie was produced by the BBC and begins by showing us drone footage of streets in famous cities around the world that were shockingly empty when the lockdown first began March of 2020. One of the first things that's talked about in the documentary is that scientists have discovered new sounds in nature and from animals that they never heard before because of all of the human noise. So do you remember how everything got very quiet because we were all stuck in our houses? Yeah, nature was like, whoa, where'd all the humans go? And so these animals have experienced new types of freedom and quiet. And David Attenborough said, less noise, less fume in the air. Creatures around us have flourished by and large in this last year. And then he said, the stories of how wildlife responded have shown that making even modest changes to what we do can make a big difference. And that's really the crux of the whole movie. The documentary just feels like a love letter to planet Earth. We get to see gorgeous drone shots of these empty streets in the cities, but also beautiful landscapes all over the world, stunning cinematography. It just will make you be in awe of this beautiful world, which is a good reminder because so many of us have just been looking at our four walls in our house for the past year. The scenes that showed families of penguins walking down these empty city streets just cracked me up. And you see lots of animals wandering through normally crowded streets. And it's just so interesting. It's kind of like watching a dystopian movie or something where there aren't any humans and all the animals are running wild through this towns. There was another segment that I thought was really fascinating to watch that featured the famous deer in Nara, Japan. Now, I've been to Japan, but we just didn't have time to see everything. And so we didn't go to Nara. But basically, the deer just wander through this resort type of outdoor nature park, and you can pay money and buy these rice bran crackers. And that basically is the diet of these deer who live in this facility, basically. And it's supposed to be just super fun because the deer actually have been seen to bow like the Japanese people. And I so wanted to see that. Well, next time I'll see it on my next trip there. But anyway, after all the humans and their rice bran crackers vanished, they wondered, well, what's going to happen to the deer? And so they did leave out a few things, but the deer were getting hungry. And what was interesting is the older deer remembered years prior when they could actually leave this resort area and roam through the fields that now have been filled with houses and apartments, but they remembered those fields. So there were some cameramen that kind of watched the deer and followed them to see where are they going to go. And sure enough, they found some of the old fields or the leftover patches of grass. And the deer decided to live there, hang out, enjoy the sun and the grass. And they found that the deer actually looked healthier and happier. Anyway, I just thought that was so interesting. From the epic line of the movie Jurassic Park, nature finds a way. Now, my husband grew up in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and he has shared many stories with me about how his lungs would burn after riding his bike around the neighborhood and around the town because the smog was so bad. Well, during the decades after that, they were able to clean up a lot of the smog, but still some remained. And if you've been to LA, you know what I mean. So what was interesting is in the movie, it showed several cities before COVID or before the quarantine where there was smog in the air. And then they took pictures of it after or during the quarantine, during the lockdown, where there wasn't any traffic and humans and smoke coming out of factories. And wow, what a difference. That was really dramatic to see the change in air quality. There was also an amazing story about the people in India and how they were finally able to see the Himalayan mountains from their rooftops. And they didn't realize they could see the Himalayas from their house. But once the smog had cleared, they were able to. So that was really cool. I was also really intrigued to learn that whales have begun talking to each other more simply because it's quiet out in the oceans without all of the boats and the cruise liners and the people and the speedboats and all of that. And so now they're talking more and they're also getting together more. There was a fascinating scene that showed how the moms would all gather together and go fishing, so to speak, together and leave their babies kind of off to the side, which they never normally would have done because they were needing to protect their babies from the humans. But knowing that there weren't any humans around, they just kind of said, okay, you stay over there, or we're going to go hunt for food. And then it showed these techniques that these whales were doing, how they would make a bunch of bubbles and all the fish would kind of swim up and then the whales would just all scoop up. Anyway, it was so interesting. A lot of the animals started talking more to each other, and that's illustrated in the movie. And I thought that was amazing. Now, I really appreciated the fact that the film didn't just show how the world and nature and animals are better off without humans. It showed some solutions for how we can learn to live more harmoniously with each other, with animals. For example, there's a village in India where elephants were eating all of the rice fields, all of the crops that were feeding the humans. And normally the Indians would just yell and scream and light firecrackers and try to scare the elephants away from the crops. But the next night, the elephants would come back. So they said, you know what? We want to be happy. We want the elephants to be happy. Let's try something else. So during this quarantine period, the humans went out farther off away from their crops, kind of at the edge of the forest, and they planted a bunch of rice fields just for the elephants. And sure enough, the elephants found the fields, and it showed in the movie, it showed them eating all of the plants, and they were so happy. But what's really intriguing is that the elephants have not crossed that line. They have stayed in the field that was designated for the elephants. That's super amazing to me. Well, there are many more stories like that, but let me share a few things that I didn't like or thought could have been handled better. So, first of all of the examples in the film allude to the fact that nature has benefited from the absence of humans. So, my first question was, do the filmmakers really want to suggest that animals are more important or more valuable than humans? I'm pretty sure that's not what they're saying. The purpose of the movie is to document the astonishing changes in nature during the pandemic. But some of the reviews that I've read from other people reveal that some people think humans are evil and terrible. One reviewer actually said that COVID should, quote, up her game and kill 3 billion people. Yikes. Yes, humans have harmed animals and nature over the centuries, but we've also done a lot of good to protect the planet and save animals too. There's a United Nations resolution called Agenda 21, which has the general idea to protect the environment. But critics of Agenda 21 actually claim that this documentary promotes the United Nations resolution, which they believe is really to subjugate humanity under eco-totalitarian regime. So what do you think? I would love to read your comments below. Are humans important? Yes. Are animals important? Yes. Can we coexist together? Absolutely. Well, that's my take on it. There is some misleading footage in the movie, however, that shows a hippopotamus wandering by a gas station in South Africa, as if it just wandered there because of its newly found freedom while humans were busy being closed up in lockdown. The reality, though, is that it had actually escaped from a nearby zoo. So I would love to believe that 100% of the footage that we're seeing and the stories and claims that are in this documentary are true, but that one is misleading and probably should have never made it into the documentary because of its misleading nature. So my big question, and yours too, after you watch this documentary, is what's going to happen once the pandemic is over? Will humans make changes to protect wildlife, or will we go back to our old ways? The film asks if we can better coexist with animals, and I think that we can, and hopefully we'll remember the lessons that we've learned during this time and really make an effort to make positive changes. Now, let me give you just a few quick tips for parents. So, there is a leopard that kills another animal to eat it, and you kind of see that. So, young kids may be introduced to the circle of life here. A cheetah also kills another animal to feed its young. So, there are a couple of encounters like that. Otherwise, young children are going to see just some amazing footage of nature, and I love that. Now, there are some themes that are also illustrated very well through the documentary, such as the balance of nature, the effect of humans on nature and animals, change, both positive and negative, but mostly positive, and a hope for a better future. Now, whenever I watch movies, I write down funny lines and interesting lines so that I can share them with you so you can kind of get a flavor for the movies. But with this movie, I didn't really write down any funny lines. I mean, Sir David Attenborough is just classic education when it comes to documentaries. He has a touch of humor, but nothing really worth writing down. But I will share a couple of interesting lines that I wrote down that I wanted you to hear. So, Sir David Attenborough says both of these. So, first, he says, this extraordinary year, the year Earth changed, has not only shown us that we can help wildlife to flourish, but if we choose to do so, we can also transform the health of the planet for all. And that's the main message of the movie. He also says our lives are interconnected in deep and surprising ways. And so as we see nature flourish, that provides us more momentum, more motivation, and maybe a better understanding of how we can make positive changes so that we all can live on this planet in peace and good health. All right, so after all is said and done, my movie review mom grade for this movie is an A. It's just stunning and beautiful to watch, especially with your family. All right, before we go, let me give you some recommendations for a few other movies you may not have discovered that are similar that I think you're also going to like. Also narrated by Sir David Attenborough. The first one is called Blue Planet. They've actually had a couple of those, so either one of those are good. Another one is called Life on Earth and shows outside of the ocean, mostly the creatures that habitate the land on planet Earth. And then the last one is actually called Planet Earth. I think you'll enjoy all of those. And of course, you can find a lot to watch on Netflix and even Amazon Prime. And in fact, if you don't already have a membership to Amazon Prime, click down below and I've got a coupon for you where you can get a free 30-day trial so you can check out all of their documentaries and see if you decide you want to become a member or not. All right, that's it. Thanks for spending some time with me. I hope if you watch this documentary on Apple TV that you'll enjoy it. And I appreciate your likes and subscribes. And be sure and comment down below as well what you thought of this movie. All right, I will catch you in the next movie review or movie trailer reaction. Until then, bye for now.